Wow, what an episode that was. Number three of The Last of Us. Hello again. Geo here from Apocalypse Movies. Flying solo for now. My co host Keith should be coming relatively soon, and we'll talk about this latest episode. And yeah, I mean, it was just heartbreaking, right? I mean, my God, what is this? What is this show about, huh? There's hardly any infected in there and whatnot. It took a complete left turn, but it worked out. It worked out well. It was a change that I did not mind and I welcomed, and it gave more. It just gave more character depth, more backstory. Um, as I've said before, I am somebody who didn't play the video games, but I did watch all the cutscenes together, and I'm glad we got more of Frank and God, what's his name? Bill, Nick Offerman's character, and we'll get into all of that. But first, it's proper to start if you're gonna do the Last of Us after show. Then I think you have to start off with paying respects. Um, Actor Annie Wershing, who I probably botched that last name, but she's the one who played Tess in the Last of Us video game. Passed away earlier today at the age of 45, and had I not been too invested, I wouldn't, this loss wouldn't have, meant as much. But the fact that I've grown to love this video game, this story, become really involved in invested into the Test character and into The Last of Us for that matter. It's unfortunate to hear. So I wanted to start it off and pay respects to Annie. Passed away at 45. Thank you so much for all that you have given. And, millions of people are enjoying this show, which started out as a video game. And that video game and its greatness could not have been possible without your contributions. So thank you. And our thoughts and prayers are with the family. So let's get into the episode here. Some people here in the chat, Blake Quick, welcome back. And Jeffrey Miller, I don't play the game, so I don't really know what's changed. It was a great performance. Yeah, yeah, well, we'll get into that. So the episode starts off. Ellie and Joel, they are making their way towards Bill's, I guess, community town that he has created. And they stop by at this convenience mart to get some more supplies. Joel and Tess, they were, planting these supplies, in case they ever hit the road. And we got a moment where Ellie decided to wander off, went into a basement, and found a clicker. Well, maybe not a clicker, but an infected that had just been chilling there. I mean, that had to have happened. The collapse where the infected got stuck. That had to have happened recently. But you got a real nice up close shot. See, practical effects. Uh, which, is a career, um, the first just growth and uh, yeah, she died have a weapon or some brings it up at times. Uh, you know, uh, games you know what it's like, but it's a way. And so he continued on the road and wants a different. He doesn't go into for what's going on. And I'm gonna time out real quick. Is there something wrong with my internet, guys? Can you hear me? Can you see me, people in the chat? Because my connection says it's unstable. I am not on Wi-Fi, and I just want to make sure that I'm you know on the screen and my connection is good. Hang on for a second, guys. I'm just checking to see if my connection is. Why does this always happen after The Last of Us? Ah, darn you, Xfinity. I'm paying $100 a month, and this is what I get from you. Gordon says it was choppy earlier. I hope it's okay now. Apologies. Okay, I'm not getting any signal disruption, so I'm just going to continue forward. So Ellie runs into a pit and sees a whole bunch of skeleton remains, and there's a story behind it. And Joel says, again, another reminder of how crappy, Fedra is, the government. They promise people a safe place to, hide from the infected, and then they end up killing because they are over capacity. And then the episode switches to it goes back to that date when it happened, and I really thought for a second we were going to see the massacre, but instead we get introduced to Bill, Nick Offerman, and he's hiding while the government is rounding everybody up, and he just does not trust, and they all drive off. And then he starts there's this montage of him just you know taking over the town. He's one man by himself, and creates all these traps, barbed wire fence, and that was something that I didn't see in the video games. Again, I've only watched the cutscenes, but it was cool to see, that kind of development, and see Bill, put his skills to use. And yeah, and then we get introduced to Frank. Um and then this is where it really changes right here. This is You're probably, if you're following this on Twitter, you're gonna notice maybe some outrage. People get checked out because this was a big change. I didn't see this coming, but they they made Bill and Frank a thing in the show, and maybe they alluded to it in the video game a little bit, but they really went for it in here. And I saw some people on the internet saying, yeah, it's basically Up. Like, this whole show is one extended, the first 15 minutes of Up, where we see this happy couple live their lives together despite everything else that's going on in the world. And they have their ups and downs. And it really just, I wasn't expecting it to go that deep, but it did. And I personally did not have a problem with this, although we might see some outrage on Twitter. Whatever, okay. If you didn't like it, that's fine. If you felt that way, but I won't get into all of it. So yeah, Bill and Frank, they decide to spend the rest of their lives together, and we get to see uh, Bill and Joel meet, which was I thought cool because we didn't get that in video games. They just knew each other like old pals, old acquaintances. And also, speaking of Tess, she makes a brief appearance in this episode after we just spoiler saw her uh die in the previous episode. And you know what, Curtis went deeper than the Niners QB depth chart. You know, okay, all right, go ahead, have your fun. That's right. Yep, the 49ers lost. And anyways, God, gee. um, yeah, we got to meet. We got to see Joel and Bill meet and have a conversation. They, have some similarities. I think it's Frank who called Bill a paranoid schizophrenic, and because he does not like that. Even though they're in love and are sharing this happy place together. Frank is over here inviting people over and making friends, and Bill's like, "We don't have any friends. You can't trust people." Thankfully, it was the friends was Joel and Tess, and so their friendship, I guess you could say, gets established, and later on, Joel comes into play. By the way, you guys remember the first episode when Ellie was talking about, the tunes of the 60s, 70s, and 80s? I like how that came back to play in this episode. They touched on it. And it's things like that, the full circles that I just love the writing of this whole show, The Last of Us. I love it when things come back into play, these small references. I again just I enjoy this show so much, and the things that they are adding to this live action show and adaptation, for me it's working so far. I'm digging it, whether it's the cold opening in Indonesia in the last episode with the doctor, or in this one where it's literally Bill and Frank spending a whole episode together, and then watching them, have their ups and downs, and then grow old together. And then that uh, what they decided to do to give them a send off together. It's Bill saying to Frank, you are my purpose. If you go, what more do I have to live for? The world is completely in, shit. And he decides to go with him. And it's just I mean, who would have thought it would have been just this romantic, poetic type of episode in something like The Last of Us, right? But they pulled it off very well, and Nick Offerman's performance was just great, and the actor who played Frank was great as well. Um, I am a little bit sad that we didn't get more interaction between Bill and Joel. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. Joel. I guess the show said or referenced that Joel went to the house. It might have been a week or 2 weeks after they decided to say goodbye to the world and you know die peacefully together. Some time had passed, but I I didn't mind that change because in the video game, what happens is Bill takes Joel and Ellie around town through all the traps. They ask Bill for help. They need a vehicle and a battery, and they end up getting that. But the only time we see Frank in the video game is when I guess he hung himself. Something psychologically happened, and he decided to hang himself. And that's all we got. We were told that Bill and Frank, we're like partners. We're like this. But we didn't get to see it. So what do the writers do when they're discussing how we're going to go about this show? Is it going to be a straight beat for beat adaptation, or is there an opportunity to flesh out more things that we maybe couldn't do in the video game at the time, or maybe didn't think of? And we got this whole entire episode, and my one nitpick was that we didn't get more. Call me selfish, we didn't get more Bill and Joel. But if this is Nick Offerman's one appearance, they could always do more flashbacks, right? More of all that kind of stuff. But if this is the one and only time we see Bill's character played by Nick Offerman, then what an episode! What an episode! I loved it. Loved it. No complaints. It's all subjective. Okay, maybe you just wanted a straight adaptation. Not uncommon. I hear it all the time in the comic book movies, but for myself, that's why you're here. I loved it. It was beautiful. It's sad. Over here thinking, what the hell, man? Jesus Christ. Life is too short, and spending it with somebody and all that kind of crap, and then you find out like, wait a minute, like it's not happily ever after. You're leaving me? No, we're going out together. Wow. Yeah. Sim, hi. Just finished watching the episode. Man, what a what a way to start the week, right? Sunday, just man, crazy. And you were so kind. You left a super chat. Thank you so much. But before we get to that, I'm gonna bring in my co-host, Mr. Keith Barnes. He is here. Keith, hello. How
Oof.
are you?
Hey, what a day! What an evening this just was. But yes, I'm
Mhm.
doing good.
Awesome. Your quick thoughts on The Last of Us, this latest episode, and then we'll get to Tim's super chat right here. That's awesome.
Tim,
But go
awesome.
ahead.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Quiet episode. Went different, obviously. From what I was thinking before we come in. There's enough that they're changing from the game that like I don't want to like spoil anything from the game that comes ahead, of course.
Oh, I already
Um,
did.
it- oh, did you already? Okay, well,
Yeah, basically how Bill took them in and
yeah,
got them what they needed, and then they
right,
ran into Frank,
right,
who hung himself,
yeah,
and I'm like, wow, there's got to be more. But I mean, with watching that video game cutscene for the first time, I was like, okay, cool, the story
right,
continues.
right.
But go ahead.
Yeah, totally different, which was a nice. But this was better, believe it or not. I think.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, this was very. I didn't. I kind of knew where it was going, but Sean, same man, same.
Wingblade.
Uh, yeah, it was very good. I love the different twist on the. We get way into the Bill and Frank relationship, and it's kind of sad because I was hoping we would get to get Bill going forward a little bit, on the journey. But
Yeah, my one nitpick was unless they do flashbacks, but
right,
like I as of right now, there's no more Bill and Joel interactions. We got the
right,
one scene where they're
just the
having lunch,
one. Yeah, man. That's
and that's pretty much it. But do you think there's an opportunity for flashbacks? I mean, they seem to be doing quite a bit of flashbacks.
Well, yeah, listen, we saw Tess again. I really
We
thought
did
we
see
thought
Tess, yeah.
so I thought that did think we'd see her again. So yeah, so I think probably um, as it will fit. That seems to be the way the show's going. Like there's always some flashback in each
Yeah.
episode. This entire episode was a flashback, pretty much, but like 90% of it. But so yeah, I definitely think so. But let me listen. I'm not complaining. This was really really good, really really good.
Hmm.
And uh, yeah, you get a little more into Bill's mindset. Bill and Frank were spot on. The casting. I don't know the actor that played Frank. I don't. Did you get his name? I don't know.
Hang on. The actor who played Frank, his name is Murray Bartlett.
Okay, I'm not familiar with him. I'm sure that we've seen him in something, but um, they were great. They were really great, man. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. This was really good and tragic, but it's good.
Yeah, let's get to Tim's super chats right here. Again, thank you so
Yes.
much. This
Hey,
is
yeah, man.
amazing right here.
Awesome.
No doubt an anthology episode in the Last of Us universe done right that the LGBTQ community will love despite deviating from the game and not having that hilarious combo between Bill and Ellie
Sure.
in the game. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, they did have some back and forth, Bill and Ellie.
Yes.
Like I like this one. um yeah, I completely agree with you, man. Like this is just it for me it just it was done right. I never when it did focus on Bill and Frank, I was never like, oh, where's the infected? Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
whatnot. I was just their performances were great, the chemistry was great. They just they really hit it,
Yeah.
And then we did get a little bit of action right there. Joel warned about raiders.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened one night? There's people coming and trying to, take from them.
Yeah.
And Bill is just right there in the middle of the road, just,
Right.
you know, offering them one at a time. Bam,
Oh,
bam.
listen. As soon as Frank woke up and it's like he hears all the explosions, he's like, Bill, where wondering where Bill's. In my head, I'm like, oh, he's already out there. I know
Yeah.
he's engaged with somebody somewhere. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that was good.
We
He
have
had
another one
all the
from
traps.
Tim here. Can't help but feel the impact that Dave Filoni had to television when he did episodes like that were peripheral to the main plot in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, but amazing stories in that universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say, well, it's Tim. Great. That's when he mentioned that Dave Filoni, Lucas discovered him was on the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. And there's a couple episodes like this in that series that kind of sort of veer off from the main storyline, but still add depth to like some individual characters. And of course, stuff that seems like it deviates from the main story, then it kind of does kind of play in later on. But so I wonder if there's anything like that
Yeah,
would happen here.
I mean,
Yeah,
again, it's like it's
good point.
again they call it an adaptation, and there are opportunities to flesh things out a little bit more. I have
Yeah,
no doubt when this Ahsoka series comes out, and we see some of the familiar faces that they're gonna dive into that. Like, is there something we can touch on? Do a flashback? That's
yeah,
just the opportunities right there.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
you got to be smart about it. So Tim, once again, it really speaks to why LGBTQ representation matters in storytelling, like movies and shows, especially in dark times like these recent years, where everyone feeling marginalized in that community.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm all for representation, Tim, as long as it's done right, and you just you know it when you're watching it. Okay, it's not beating you over the head or anything like that. Like in the case of Bill and Frank, it just, I mean, the performances and whatnot. But you think about like how they got to that point. They're like, oh my god, like another human being, a decent human
Exactly.
being. You
Yeah,
know, have a meal together. you know, they little things here and there about, the pairing of the wine with the food,
Mm-hmm.
the piano, singing,
Mm-hmm.
Bill saying, that
Wasn't about a woman.
wasn't about a woman,
Yeah.
whatnot. And then, it's the performance of it, the expressions and the dialogue delivery. And then it just, I don't know, it all just, came together. It wasn't
Yeah.
just abrupt, I guess is what
No.
I'm trying to
Well,
say.
yeah, it felt genuine too. It felt, and we could tell Frank could tell like this was somebody that he would feel safe with. you
Right.
know. And then obviously Bill, this is somebody like you said, that is worth saving, worth protecting. Um,
Hmm.
so I love, what he said in that letter. Like that was great at the end. And
Yeah, the letter, man,
yeah,
that's yeah, to whomever, but likely Joel. Like,
yeah,
if you're reading this, you're not dead because you got past the electrical fence or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And then just left all that there. And just exactly like in the video, well, that part, like in the video game, they get in the car, sorry, the truck, they play the tunes. Joel's like, okay, all right. And they're off their way.
yeah.
So, looking at how they did this episode and the fact that it's 9 episodes, like if they wanted to, like they could take a little bit more time and just, flesh things out more. Now I'm looking ahead and trying to think, okay, what else could they do?
Right.
Because we just got this whole entire episode and it did not feel like a filler episode. You know that term, filler
Yeah.
episodes. It was great. Gordon here, yeah. The actor who played Frank Murray Bartlett was in The White Lotus. That is
Okay.
correct. They need to watch.
Yeah. Right. I've heard nothing
Hmm.
but things. And then this Gordon is exactly what I was thinking of when I was talking about the Last Airbender. Yeah. Exactly right. Tales of Boston. Say great episode of that series. So yeah. Yeah,
There
this
you
this kind of
go.
had that kind of feel. Yeah, but
Hmm.
I do to jump back to the beginning really quick, and then we'll talk about the head. But boy, we did get a hint of a little bit of darkness in Ellie there at the beginning. you know,
Yeah, yeah.
she
I mean,
and a little bit of what I don't know if you know anything about the part two of the game, but
I
there's
just started part two.
okay, yeah, there's a little bit of you get a little hint of what's coming there. So not to spoil that too much, but yeah. So that definitely I found that interesting. Oh, okay.
They're planting it.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna go back like a couple years from now, watch this episode again, and be like,
Yeah.
"There it is, right there."
I wonder, I was talking about this the other day with somebody. I think we just got the news they're season two. They're announced season two for this show.
Season 2 is happening. I think Josh Horowitz was interviewing. Oh my god, who plays Ellie? Wow, Jesus Christ.
Oh, Bella Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yes, broke the news middle of the interview.
Right.
Such a genuine reaction.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, it was no surprise. Come on now,
Sure.
season 2 is announced. Whatever. It's like
So
the
I'm
Chiefs.
I'm curious where uh I think that's going to be all the stuff from this first game. Maybe some parts of well, no, probably not. It feels like they're going to stretch out. I wondered if they're going to do the entire game just this one season, but I don't think they will.
Mm, no, I mean not after this episode.
Yeah,
I mean
if
you
they
could
get some,
literally.
yeah,
Yeah, I
there's,
mean,
there's a lot
what
more to
happens
flesh out.
next? If you saw previews for the next episode, that whole thing could probably take 2 episodes or
Mm.
more, depending on the length. This one was 80 minutes,
Yeah,
and
which is a surprise. I went, oh,
and I was hooked the whole time. I was
yeah,
just like,
same.
man, yeah, um, yeah. So looking ahead, um, they are gonna get into some trouble. They're gonna get a little bit of a what's the phrase or the expression I'm looking for? Like they get a breath of air before things go bad again.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, Joel, it might you might want to think twice about giving her a gun, like
Yeah. Well,
or not.
she
And
took
they
one.
did, yeah, she did take one. Yeah, I can't wait for that moment where I won't ruin it, but I was about to. A couple more comments here, Tim. At least this love story really ties into the central themes of The Last of Us, where it's more about humanity after the apocalypse and surviving among zombies in a more intimate level than what The Walking Dead did.
Agree.
Hmm.
Completely agree. That's a good. That's a great point.
Continues to say, honestly, what they did in this episode really gives the potential on what they can do to dive deeper when they adapt The Last of Us 2 next season. So I can say without spoiling the game.
Right.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, there's still a chance that, like the first video game doesn't end on the first season. Although they might do that because maybe that's how it was planned out,
Yeah. Possibly.
right? Season 2 is not guaranteed. Let's just put everything into this season and see what happens.
Yeah. That's possible. That's possible.
And the Mortal Kombat 2, right?
Or
Mortal
yes, it
Kombat 2.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that ties into like your thing about Ellie going down a darker path because Mortal Kombat 2 was darker than the first one
Sure.
somehow. So I don't know. I'm going deep.
She likes. She's talking about what the Melina, the character with the
The Melina,
teeth.
yeah.
Pulls the
They're
mask.
adapting Last of Us Season 2 from the get go for Season 2. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And they got the gaming community absolutely split, just like what the game did to them several years ago. Yeah, well, these
Yeah.
adaptations, you're not going to please everybody. So,
Yeah.
at least that you're here and you are spending some of your time with fans who did appreciate this change.
Yeah.
Curtis, we'll love a flashback opening next episode of people playing Mortal Kombat game in that store. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. That'd be pretty cool. And Gordon says the calm before the storm.
Compost song.
That
Yep.
is correct. Yep.
Yep.
It's about to get very heavy in this next episode. So yeah, we'll stay tuned. Keith, any final thoughts on this episode?
Thought it was excellent. I'll probably watch it again a little bit later on. Yeah, it was really good. I liked it. I just like to see them fleshing out some of these characters and extending the storyline a little bit further and adding just the depth that they're adding to the world. It's really great, and it's nice to every episode can't be like say you mentioned it's not going to be let's just shooting zombies and let's whatever from Walking Dead, but yeah, just the humanity. Like they
The
mentioned, it's just
humanity, the characters,
right. Yeah, it's nice to just get away from running away from infected for a minute and just see the way some other people are dealing with this mess. As Bill said, look, he's a survivalist. He figured out a way to survive through it all,
Yeah.
and keep everyone else out. And they managed to kind of maintain a relatively normal existence, even though the world around them is just basically ended. So it was nice to see that get away from the mission for a second.
Yeah.
For a little bit.
Now, Keith, I haven't played or watched the cutscenes of the second game. Is this? It says I think they might split the second game into multiple seasons.
Well,
Or
possibly.
the second game is longer.
Yes.
It's longer.
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
well, shoot. I'll just tell you right now. 50 gigabytes for this one. 100 gigabytes for this one. So, yes, it is long. It's a longer game. Yeah, it was 2 discs. So, at least this one is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, but the story is a lot. There's a lot going on. So that would actually make sense. It would probably be a second and possibly a third season. Because, but again, there's a lot that they would probably take out and change, and like they're doing with this. And I also do wonder if they would possibly recast Ellie, although probably not. They can age her up a few years.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Bella Ramsey's not that young, so
Um,
I don't know how she is, but they can make her 4 years older or whatever.
have we seen the last of Bill?
I don't think so. I think I'm pretty sure there will be a story, a flashback that'll connect to something, you know, that'll make and maybe even Tess again, because it sounds like Joel knew all his stuff,
Mhm.
so I'm sure they had some things where they had to fight off some raiders, or maybe they had to, for some reason, maybe Bill had to leave, and they had to get Joel's help to go somewhere and get something. Uh, Joel told him, "There's stuff here that you don't have that we have," So I don't know, or maybe we'll just see them making the trade for something. I don't know. But I'm sure
Yeah.
that we'll see another flashback.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our recap episode for The Last of Us episode 3. Thank you so much for joining us. You can catch us every Sunday, every Sunday at 8 o'clock, usually. That's the time, 8 o'clock Pacific time.
Mhm.
And Keith, thank you so much for dropping in and
Thank you.
talking about this with me. Plenty more fun episodes to go. We're a third of the way through. A third of the
Yeah.
way through this first season. And if you haven't yet, hit that thumbs up. We appreciate you guys' support so much. Gordon, we appreciate you being here. Tim, thank you so much for the donations. We appreciate that. Sean,
Yes.
I see you. Curtis, enjoy the Niners loss.
Wow.
Jeffrey and Blake, you guys are awesome. Thank you again. And that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for sharing your thoughts. And yeah, we watched the episode. I'm going to go and maybe watch about a half hour worth of cutscenes for The Last of Us Part 2. So, I'll be sure to give an update on my journey the next time, this time next week. And that's going to do it again. Thank you guys so much. Have a safe week. Until next time.